Hello everybody, welcome back. Today, one of the things that I get asked a lot is what kind of rig do I use when I'm out playing gypsy jazz? And so I thought I would just share the equipment that I use on a regular basis, let you see exactly how it works and how I put everything together, and then what I do as an alternative in case I'm using a guitar without the big tone pickup. So if it doesn't plug in, I have an alternative. If I'm using my main guitar, it does plug in, and that's usually my choice just because I don't have to deal with a lot of feedback. But I'm going to switch the camera around now and show you exactly what I use, and then if you have any questions, just let me know, and at the end I'll give you a sample of how everything sounds, and we'll talk about it a little more then. Okay, so to start, we have the Del Arte Jimmy Rosenberg model, which comes standard with a big tone pickup, and you can see right here that guitar plugs in. So I just, basically don't have to worry about feedback. I just plug that cable in and I run that directly to the next piece of equipment here, which is the BBE Acoustimax. So basically what you have is the BBE sonic maximizer, also preamp for your guitar, and then that also features, you can see the mic cables kind of hanging out of the back. It also features a direct box basically built in. So with this you can choose to mute your instrument. You see the button on the left. You also can engage or disengage the sonic maximizer, and then you have all the things that you would need for a preamp, especially since the big tone pickup, as a general rule, it's got great EQ, kind of it's just tailored to that gypsy sound. It usually feels really comfortable, but it can always use some adjustment. But there's no onboard preamp or anything like that, so you need sometimes a little EQ, and this will do it. And what I like most is that the fact that the mid actually has a little sweep there, so you can notch out some filters if you're getting a little squeal, or if you're getting those ringing notes, when they react to the room at a certain volume. That really helps. But yeah, so you got a bass and treble, and then the gain knob, obviously you gotta have that. The mid again helps, and on the far right side is your final volume. So you can, you'll see I run the gain a little lower than midway and crank the volume up a little bit. And that gives me just a nice warm sound, but not any even bare sign of distortion. It stays really, really clean. And then just to the left of the volume knob, you'll see the actual BBE process there. So the notch filter actually will, it even helps more with the feedback problem. I've got it turned all the way off. I don't use it at all unless I have a problem. And then the knobs labeled process and low contour are actually, the maximizer itself. What that does is it, just to put it in simple terms, it basically holds off the frequencies at different rates, so that when the frequencies do hit the listener's ear, they kind of hit simultaneously instead of in stages. So they'll delay certain frequencies and hold them back so that they all kind of pop out at the same time. And I'll let you hear the difference, with and without. It's one of those things you don't really miss when you're not using it until you've used it for a while, and then when you don't have it, you do miss it quite a bit. So it is one of my favorite things, or favorite pedals to use here for acoustic guitar. I'm going to flip it around and show you the back of it, just so you see what's going on. There's a whole lot of just adjustability. So, it's got the ground lift, which helps, especially in old buildings. You can switch the phase. It's got a 12 dB pad. And then the pre and post just basically tells you, where the maximizer is going to fall. The line out, I don't use it just because I have this, DI out that goes to the amp that I'm about to show you. The effects loop, I don't use that at all just because I don't use any effects when I'm playing gypsy jazz guitar. And then the tuner, I don't actually use that because it's one more piece of gear that I would have to carry. I'd use a little clip-on tuner on the guitar and keep it in the case. And so it would be nice to, use that if you needed to, but I just don't like the tuner to be on the floor and plugged in like that. So, but if it's, it's there if you need it. comes with the power supply, so it's not battery operated at all. You do have to use that power supply. Now I plug this from the direct out directly to the next piece of equipment, which I will change the angle here so you can see it. This is the ZT Acoustic Lunchbox. It's about a 12-pound amp, about the size of a lunchbox actually, and it's a little heavier than a lunchbox, but size-wise it's pretty close. It's made out of this kind of composite. I don't know if you can see the wood grain there. That's kind of a veneer finish on the amp, but it's a tiny little thing. Like I said, 12 pounds. I'm going to pop the front off so you can see it's a 6.5-inch speaker there, and the amp is 200 watts, and it's really just pure clean wattage. It's what you put in is what you get out. Really basic controls. The cool thing, it says instrument and microphone, and I use either or. When I'm working with another musician that needs to plug in, I'll go to the mic on the back and I'll use my direct out from the BBE into that, and you can see that cable back here. If, for example, I don't use the BBE pedal and I have to plug in, you can plug in right here with this cable. It doesn't really matter. They each have their own channel. So when I'm using the mic input on the back and I'm running out of the BBE, I have an additional thing here on this channel that says microphone that allows us just to watch the feedback. Those are preset little kind of like frequency cuts. I usually leave it off, honestly, but if you do have a problem, that's just one more way that you can solve that feedback issue. I actually run the gain quite low when I'm using the BBE, but I do run the volume. I'll run it way higher. Usually we're up here in the 75 to 80% range, somewhere around, you know, like 3 o'clock on the clock face. And I do that just because I like that low gain, and all my warmth comes from the gain on the BBE. Now, if you do use the instrument channel, you don't have the feedback cut, but you still do have your gain, and this the first volume, on the far left, the volume actually controls both channels. So that's your overall amp, you know, master volume. Each channel does have a bass and a treble and a reverb, and the reverb's pretty decent. It's not a bad thing. We don't usually use a lot. I don't know why that last channel is cranked up there. I'm going to turn that down because we generally run that a lot lower. But overall, just the reverb sound is pretty decent. Just don't need to use a lot of it ever, really. Now, the back panel, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to unplug this, turn it over so you can see what's going on. Here you go. So you can see I've got the mic from the BBE, or mic cable from the BBE out of the direct out, plugged right into the mic input. It does have phantom power, and you can use instead of the XLR, you can use a 1/4 inch. That works just as well. For me, it's just a matter of connection. Those are the cables that I'm using, and I kind of have a weird preference for the XLRs for this setup. Beside that, you have the auxiliary input. You can plug your iPhone, iPad, iPod, whatever, and it'll play, you know, right through that. You do have an effects loop, send and return, and then the headphone volume and a line out. I've never used either one of those. It has an external speaker. I know they sell a cabinet for this, but I've never actually used it, and I've never plugged this into anything else. If you switch it, the speaker switch to external, the internal speaker is turned off. So I run this just the way it was purchased, and it does sound great for this application. So now we're going to check out how it sounds. Okay, so this is going to be the sound of just the amp, no sonic maximizer at all. Although the Acoustimax preamp is engaged, it's acting as a preamp. So I have the EQ set just the way I like it, and I don't really do a whole lot of adjustment. I've got a slight boost to the treble and a slight boost to the bass. The gain is just before the halfway point. The volume is just after the halfway point. The notch filter is completely turned off, and the mid is really, at this point, is not doing anything. I have a slight cut in the maybe upper mid range, just the barest little bit, and it just helps with the natural mid-range of the guitar. So here it is with just the amp. I'll play a couple of chords and let you get a feel for it with nothing but just that tiny bit of EQ and the amp going, and then we'll add the maximizer, and then I'll show you the difference. So this is nothing but, again, the tiny bit of EQ and the amp by itself. Now with the maximizer. Now I'll go A-B this for you so you can hear the difference. Here's without and with, and then I'll switch in the middle of the chords. So this is without and with. So there is a difference, especially when you're on, in the crowd facing the amp. It changes how the frequencies pop out of the amp, and for me it makes a difference. It just helps fill up the room. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.